captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio.
Right, welcome to yet another interesting edition of Aloore Newspaper Review, coming to you live from GSM Studio here at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. Here at the Ministry of Information and Orientation, Agodi Secretariat, Ibadan. My name is Olamide Adeniji, and I will be bringing you newspaper reviews from two major newspapers, the Nigerian Tribune and the Punch newspaper. Straight to the headlines. Let me bring you the first headline from the Punch newspaper, which says FG plans 26 trillion naira borrowing, 29 trillion for debt servicing. Wow. Oh, okay. That means Nigeria, it is well. Okay. Naira slumps further, exchanges for 1,190 naira per dollar. Fuel hits 685 naira per litre in the north. Assassination, police probe alleged attempt on Bello. And 5 died, 15 injured in Lagos Ibadan highway crash. APC PDP hopeful as Supreme Court battle starts today. Friends mourn Nigerian medical students killed in Philippines. Israel, Hamas, Biden, Pope protesters want ceasefire. And on the Nigerian Tribune says Odua Foundation to launch the FIND project to boost education in Southwest. NAS sued over purchase of 360 SUVs valued at 57.6 billion naira. Customs lose officer as Boko Haram attacks Yobe facility. Appeal court sacks Senate minority leader, others will run. Exchange rate, industries battle for survival as Nigerians suffer losses. It also has some riders. Manufacturers pay up to 30 different taxes, levies annually. Man laments. Petrol pump price hits 630 naira per litre in Abuja. More filling stations shut down. Contractors oppose federal government's order to return to site without payment review. Our gunmen dressed in military uniforms attacked Bello's convoy, Kogi government. There's a forth and back on that story. There's a place where we learned that the Kogi state governor said he was not attacked by gunmen, by military officers, and then there's another one coming out saying gunmen dressed in military uniforms attacked him. And then this is coming from the Lagos Ibadan Expressway. Ogun gives traders at Kara other road setbacks 21 days to quit. And then there's so many stories here. When we return, we're going to read them one after the other, and then we'll do justice to them in the next 25 to 30 minutes. Stay tuned.
Let us take you on a journey across continents as we bring you latest news, captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. Whether you're a native of Ibadan or a visitor, Aloore Radio brings you closer to the heart and soul of Oyo State and beyond. Aloore Radio, the online radio that amplifies the voice of Oyo State. We bring you everything from breaking news.
President must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music,
Girl, I just want me with you like I said.
and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Aloore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Aloore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Aloore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Aloore Radio, the voice of Oyo State.
You're welcome back. Okay, don't forget you may join us on our Facebook page www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. You could also join our YouTube channel at Aloore Radio, and our website is www.alooreradio.com. Our mobile apps are available on Google Play Store, while you could call our studio line 0903-985-3731. Straight to the business of the day, I'll bring you my first story from the Punch newspaper, and this is coming from page 2, a major story that concerns all Nigerians. 3-year blueprint. Federal government plans 26 trillion naira borrowing, 29 trillion naira for debt servicing. Nigeria's total public debt may hit 118.37 trillion naira in the next 3 years, findings by the Punch newspaper have shown. The figure was based on analyzing Nigeria's current debt profile and the debt projections in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper 2024 to 2026. According to the new MTEF medium-term expenditure framework, the federal government plans to take 26.442 trillion naira loans between 2024 and 2026. This is high. This is right on the high side. You may read the story, and it's found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. It also has some riders on debt servicing, capital expenditure, and advice by experts to the federal government. And then let's go to Philippines, where a Nigerian medical student was killed by Chinese. Friends of a Nigerian medical student, identified simply as Ikem, have mourned the killing of the student, who was allegedly murdered by a group of Chinese. Details of the incident were still sketchy as of press time, but on an ex-user, Michael Ojola, on Sunday tweeted that the deceased's hands were tied, his mouth covered, and beaten till death. You may read more of that story. It's on the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. Ogun to beautify Lagos-Ibadan highway gives street traders quick notice. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has handed down a 21-day ultimatum to all street traders operating on road setbacks along the Lagos-Ibadan expressway to vacate the road. The other Punch Metro length concerns those operating at Kara, Isheri, and Wariwa areas of the road. The move was further length was meant to restore environmental sanity to the road. NDLA intercepts Saudi Arabia-bound cocaine concealed in Baldwin Green. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency's Directorate of Operations and General Investigations attached to Korea companies on Sunday, October 15, intercepted 1 kg methamphetamine concealed in containers of body cream going to New Zealand, as well as another consignment of 2.5 kg cocaine and phenacetin hidden in walls of a carton heading to Saudi Arabia. You may read more of that story on the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. Residents tackle developer of 10-story hotel, Lagos seals property. The Lagos State Ministry of Environment has placed a seal order notice on a property at Engineer Bodunrin Adebimpe Close off Lanre Awolokun Street, Gbagada Phase 2, Lagos, for alleged violation of environmental laws. Our correspondent, who was in the area on Saturday, saw the seal of the ministry on the two entrances of the property, which is still under construction. You may read more of that story on the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. And those in my mind, soldiers seeking discharge tells Army. A 39-year-old female soldier, Lance Corporal Philomena Nanmoko, has alleged that she is psychologically imbalanced and is losing her mind since the Nigerian Army has refused to discharge her from service. Punch Metro gathered that Namoko currently serves in Ilese Barracks, Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. Namoko told our correspondent on Thursday that she had written a series of letters to authorities seeking voluntary discharge, but nothing has been done on her case. Okay, you may read more of that story on the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. Anambra woman sells 3-month-old grandson for 50,000 naira, whooping sum of 50,000 naira. A grandmother identified as Oluchukwu Nwosu from Nkwele in Oyi, local government area of Anambra State, is in police custody in the state for allegedly selling a newborn for 50,000 naira. The Punch Metro gathered that the baby was delivered out of wedlock by the suspect's daughter, identified as Ijoma. The security operatives of the State Ministry of Women and Social Welfare, together with men of the State Police Command, apprehended the culprit and the perpetrators in the crime after the mother of the baby alerted the ministry. Okay, you may read more of that sad story on the Metro page of the Punch newspaper. Okay, this next story. Afe Babalola advocates residential education system in Nigeria. Coming from page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Founder of Afe Babalola University, Ado Ekiti, Abuad, Are Afe Babalola, has advocated residential education system for the country to improve its standing among Committee of Nations. He suggested that federal government should ensure that only non-profit private universities with residential facilities for students should be approved, instead of giving approval to people who are only interested in making money rather than contributing to the education system or the education sector. You may read more of that story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian manufacturers pay up to 30 different taxes levies annually. That's coming from MAN. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has again called on the federal government to address the issue of multiple taxation confronting operators in the sector, stating that an average Nigerian manufacturer contends with not less than 30 different forms of taxes, fees and levies annually. The association's president, Francis Meshoye, disclosed this as this year's edition of Adiola Odutola lecture series for the association's 51st annual general meeting held in Lagos. Okay, I'm bringing this next story from page 7, still from page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune, which says, "Will crash cement price ensure commodity stability?" If that's coming from producers. The Cement Producers Association of Nigeria, CPAN, has assured of its eagerness to support the federal government's infrastructure drive reduce the price of cement and ensure its price stability if the federal government will only revisit the backward integration policy of the late President Umar Yar'Adua on cement. Okay, you may read more on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Odua Investment Partners Property Company on reducing housing deficit. Odua Investment Company Limited and the property company Aerofield Homes have signed a memorandum of understanding towards provision of decent homes and contribution to reducing housing deficits in Nigeria. Among others, the MOU is expected to bring about the construction of luxury apartments in Ikeja, Lagos State. You may read more of that story from page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Alright, let me go to this next one. It's on petrol pump price. Says petrol pump price hits 630 naira per litre as more filling stations shut down in Abuja. That's coming from page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. As a crisis surrounding availability of fuel across the country rages on, the pump price of the premium motor spirit PMS is now between 625 and 630 per litre. This was even as oil marketers have continued to raise concerns over mass shutdown of filling stations and packing up of petroleum tankers due to unattainable high cost of importation, lifting, transportation and distribution of petroleum products. You may read more of this story on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Experts asked FG to remove bottleneck for exporters in ports. Experts in the non-oil sector have called on the federal government to remove the bottleneck on pre-shipment processes for exporters at the ports in Nigeria. Speaking in Abuja, the chairman of Fulmas Group, Mr. Sriram Venkats, I can't get that name right, said regulatory agencies were hindering exporters with different inspection schedules of products before export. You may read more of that story on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then this is coming from Lagos. 3rd Million Bridge repairs completed. The Federal Controller of Works in Lagos, Mrs. Olukorede Kesha, on Sunday expressed satisfaction with repair done on the 3rd Mainland Bridge, assuring motorists a smooth ride till the commencement of comprehensive rehabilitation in January 2024. That is coming from News Agency of Nigeria on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. Although a foundation to launch defined project to boost education in Southwest. Odua Investment Foundation, a non-profit making arm of Odua Investment, is set to launch one of its intervention projects called Digital Education for Innovation and Economic Development, defined deliberately conceptualized to upskill the Southwest youth towards the digital revolution, will hold tomorrow at the Lagos Airport Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos State. You may read more of that story on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. Contractors oppose federal government's order on returning to site without payment or without pay review. Contractors handling federal government road projects have opposed a recent directive to return to site without reviewing their contract sums, saying they are not to be blamed for inflation and fall in the value of naira. They lauded the House of Representatives for suspending moves by Works Minister Senator Dave Umahi to adopt concrete for road construction, describing concrete roads as not feasible in the light of Nigeria's economic realities. You may read more of that story on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. Alright, let me bring my next story from the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, let's say this is over 2,000 programmers enrolled for FCMB hackathon. Okay, that's on the capital market page. And then this is okay coming from Ekiti ex-governor Bamdele endorsed Oyebanji for second term. Is that not too early? Former governors of Ekiti State Adeni Adebayo, Ayodele Fayoshe, and Dr. Kayode Fayemi, as well as Senate leader Opeyemi Bamdele, have endorsed the state governor Biodun Oyebanji for his second term in office. The ex-governors who belong to different political parties and spoke through Fayoshe of the People's Democratic Party said they had reviewed Oyebanji's 1 year in office and concluded that he deserved a second term, having united every political and religious tendencies in the state and mobilized the people for massive development. Interesting. Okay, that's coming from the politics news page of the Nigerian Tribune, page 22. You may read more of that story on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. And I have a twin of that story on the Punch newspaper, but this time there's a picture that accompanies it, where the picture shows Dr. Kayode Fayemi, Otunbani Adebayo, Governor Biodun Oyebanji, and Ayodele Fayoshe during the Thanksgiving service commemorating the first year anniversary of Oyebanji-led administration at the Cathedral Church of Emmanuel, Ado-Ekiti. Lagos shuts more markets over pollution. Some markets within the trade fair complex in the Ojo local government area of Lagos State, including the Auto Spare Parts and Machinery Dealers Association and the Balogun Business Association markets, among others, were sealed by the state government on Sunday over alleged environmental infractions. You may read more of that story on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. And then, okay, twin of that story, like I said, of the story I read earlier, is on Punch newspaper. You will govern Ekiti for 8 years, Fayoshe tells Oyebanji. Appeal court sacks Senate minority leader. Others will run. The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Sunday notified the victory of the Senate minority leader Simon Nwankwo in the February 25 senatorial election in the Plateau North Senatorial District. A three-member appeal panel ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to, within 90 days, conduct a fresh election in the Senatorial District. You may read more of that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Okay, so Supreme Court judges drop to 10 as Natijo retires. Okay, another justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Musa Natijo, is set to retire. Justice Natijo will retire on Friday, October 27, 2023, according to a statement on Sunday by a spokesperson of the Supreme Court, Dr. Festus Akonde. Okay, you may read more of that story on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And then this is coming from FG plans palliative for military veterans. The Ministry of Defense, through its steering committee on social safety net, Saturday evening flagged off enrollment of veterans for palliatives to mitigate the hardship occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal. Everything is in Nigeria is now centered around the fuel subsidy removal. God have mercy on us. Alright. NIPOS trains staff promises to upgrade infrastructure. In a bid to improve its operation, the Nigerian Postal Service organized 2-day training for its 41 staff in its financial service department, vowing to improve its infrastructure for the benefit of the country. You may read more of that story on page 13 of the Nigerian Punch newspaper. And then to the next story, Obasanjo Abiodun to attend Canada Trade Expo. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, and the Chief Executive Officer of Pelican Valley Nigeria Limited, Babatunde Adeyemo, are among the dignitaries expected to grace the pre-conference Abeokuta 2023 session of the forthcoming Canada Trade Fair in 2024. You may read more of that story on the Punch newspaper. And then I'm bringing this next story from the Punch newspaper, which says assassination police probe alleged attempt on Bello. The police said on Sunday that they had launched an investigation into an alleged assassination attempt on the Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello. You may read more of that story on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. And then let me quickly go to the Nigerian Tribune, where a twin of the story I read earlier is on page 23. Appeal Court sacks Senate Minority Leader. Others will run. And then resurgence of suspected herdsmen killings of farmers in Oyo, Ogun must stop. Igbo Chief Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igbo, on Sunday declared that the resurgence of suspected herdsmen killings of farmers in the Werele community of Iwajowa local government area and some other towns in Okeogun axis of Oyo State must be curtailed by security agencies. Alright, I think this is all we can take here this morning. Thank you for staying tuned. This is still Aloore Radio. Don't worry, you'll join my colleague tomorrow. We'll bring you a fresh edition of Aloore newspaper review. Until then, do have a blessed day and do have a blessed week. My name is Thank you.